American Pickers Frank Fritz hit with lost days before stroke. Seems like things aren't going the right way for American Pickers star Frank Fritz. The former host recently suffered a medical crisis that was confirmed by his former co-host in the show, Mike Wolf, last week on Instagram. The 58-year-old also requested fans to pray for Frank's well-being. American Pickers Frank Fritz snubbed from stepfather's will. However, this wasn't the only crisis the reality show host had to deal with. As confirmed by The Sun, Frank's stepfather passed away just days before he was hospitalized due to a heart stroke. He lost his stepfather, Richard Zerves, on July 5, 2022. Adding to his list of woes, as revealed by probate court papers, his stepfather left him out of the will. As per Richard's last will and testament, created on March 22, 2021, his friend Diane Bankson was dubbed the executor of the will. However, Diane was much more than Richard's friend. She was Frank's ex-fiancée, and they had an on-and-off relationship for decades. According to the court papers, "I give all my tangible personal property and household effects, not otherwise effectively disposed of, such as jewelry, clothing, automobiles, furniture, furnishings, gold and silver, books and pictures, including policies of insurance to Diane Bankson. In case Diane didn't survive him, her daughter would be the will's executor." Further in the will, he explained that his biological son passed away before him, so he had no surviving descendants. Richard Zerves leaves out daughter from the will. He does have a daughter, however, he didn't leave his property in her name either. Richard cited reasons that she had remained aloof for far too long. In the will, he explained, since she has had little or no contact with me in recent years, and lives in California, and does not visit me, it is my expressed intention, desire and direction that neither my daughter nor any of her descendants shall be entitled to any part whatsoever of my estate, or any proceeds or assets of my estate. He ended with, "I sincerely wish them a happy life. I just wish they had taken the time to remain in contact with me." Frank's ex-fiancée Diane is the will's executor. Diane has the complete right to sell or invest his personal or real property. She has already filed the papers to accept the position as the will's executor. Despite the fact that Richard got married to Frank's mother, Susan, in 1974, he didn't mention Frank in his will. In 2013, Susan passed away while still married to Frank's stepfather. She was 67 at the time of her death. The former host's biological father, Bill, is alive and well, currently residing in Texas. Frank and Diane had an on-and-off relationship for years before it ended. Both accused one another of infidelity. In the world of antique collecting, few names are as iconic as Frank Fritz from the hit show American Pickers. With his sharp eye for hidden treasures and a knack for haggling, Frank became a fan favorite. Alongside his co-host Mike Wolf, Frank traveled the backroads of America, seeking out forgotten relics from dusty barns and cluttered garages. For years, the duo's chemistry and passion for history turned American Pickers into a massive success. However, just days before Frank's life was forever altered by a devastating stroke, he was hit with a personal loss that shook him to his core. For Frank, picking wasn't just a job, it was a way of life. He had always felt a deep connection to the past, to the stories locked within the objects he found. Every piece he uncovered had a history, a life of its own, and Frank relished the chance to restore these forgotten artifacts to their former glory. But even as Frank navigated the intricate world of rusty treasures, he was privately dealing with a storm of personal issues that few knew about. In the weeks leading up to his stroke, Frank had been battling a whirlwind of emotions. He had already faced health struggles, having undergone back surgery that forced him to take a leave of absence from American Pickers. As time passed, the gap between him and Mike seemed to grow wider, with tensions brewing under the surface. Mike continued the show without Frank, which only deepened the rift between the two former friends. Fans of the show speculated, but the full extent of their estrangement remained unclear. Behind the scenes, Frank was dealing with more than just physical pain. He was grappling with a sense of isolation. His absence from the show felt like the end of an era, and as the episodes rolled on without him, it became clear that his return was uncertain. Friends and colleagues noticed a change in Frank's demeanor. The man who once bubbled with enthusiasm for each new find now seemed quieter, more withdrawn. Yet he never lost that sharp instinct for a good pick. Then came the loss that would shake Frank to his core. Just days before his stroke, Frank received heartbreaking news. His longtime partner had broken things off with him. For years, she had been a stabilizing force in his life, a quiet presence that grounded him amidst the chaos of fame and travel. She could stood by him through thick and thin, through his highs on the show and his lows off-screen. But their relationship, strained by his health problems, work stress, and his growing dependence on alcohol, had reached its breaking point. Her departure left Frank feeling abandoned at a time when he needed support the most. The breakup was a cruel blow, hitting Frank harder than anyone could have expected. He had lost not just a partner, but his anchor. In the quiet moments, away from the cameras and the road, he wrestled with feelings of failure and regret. As the days wore on, he found himself drowning in memories of better times when life felt simpler, when the future seemed bright. The sadness he felt was compounded by the fact that the world around him continued on, oblivious to his pain. Even his old friend Mike, with whom he shared over a decade of American Pickers adventures, felt distant. Their relationship, once unbreakable, had fractured in ways that felt beyond repair. Frank had publicly expressed his disappointment at how things had played out, lamenting the lack of communication between them. The breakup and his estrangement from Mike weighed heavily on his heart, leaving him with a deep sense of loss and loneliness. Days after his personal life unraveled, tragedy struck. Frank suffered a massive stroke that left him hospitalized and fighting for his life. The news shocked fans and colleagues alike. Here was a man who had once crisscrossed the country with boundless energy, now confined to a hospital bed, his fate uncertain. The stroke was a devastating reminder of how fragile life can be, and for Frank, it marked the end of a chapter in ways he hadn't foreseen. As he lay in the hospital, the echoes of recent events seemed louder than ever. The loss of his relationship, the widening gap between him and Mike, his struggles with health and sobriety, it all swirled in his mind. For a man who had spent his life searching for pieces of history, he now found himself grappling with his own. What had gone wrong? Could things have been different if he had acted sooner? These questions haunted him as he battled for recovery. While the future remains uncertain for Frank, his journey serves as a reminder of the complexity of human life behind the scenes of reality TV. Fans knew him as the jovial picker with a sharp wit and a love for the odd and unusual. But behind that persona was a man dealing with deep personal struggles that came to a head just days before his stroke. The loss of his relationship wasn't just about a breakup. It symbolized the end of an era for Frank, one where he felt connected, loved, and supported. As his health declined and his friendships frayed, the loss of that partnership left him more vulnerable than ever. It was a reminder that even in the world of fame and fortune, the real battles are often fought in the quiet moments, far from the spotlight. Today, as Frank continues his path to recovery, fans of American Pickers are left hoping for a miracle. Many have rallied around him, offering their support and prayers. But beyond the public outpouring of love, there remains a quiet sadness in knowing that Frank's journey has been marked by both incredible highs and crushing lows. Whether or not he returns to the world of picking, Frank Fritz will forever be remembered as one of the greats in the world of antiques. A man who, despite his personal struggles, never lost his passion for the past. And while he may be facing an uncertain future, one thing is clear. Frank Fritz has left an indelible mark on the world, both as a picker and as a man who, like the treasures he uncovered, is more complex than meets the eye.